Hello again. So it seems that my cell phone ran out of me on me. So the answer for number 5 on 10.10 is 16 or -2 because 7 minus 9 is -2. Okay. So let me do the other ones. So I have. So these ones are a little bit more complex. So you have x squared plus 14x plus something to complete that square, or the area of that square, minus 2 is equals to 3. So I'm going to open my parentheses to find one side of the square. And so it's x, half of the middle term, which is positive 7. And then I bring down this minus 2 equals. And remember that to complete this square, I'm going to multiply this to the second power, and so it's going to be 49. But again, to complete that square, I added 49 here, so I have to add 49 to the other side of the equation to maintain the balance or the equality. And so 3 plus 49 is 52. I start now solving for x by canceling, and so I add 2 to both sides. So x plus 7 all to the second power is equals to 54. I take the square root of both sides, and so x plus 7 is equals to plus or minus. Since you can't take the square root of 54, we cannot be simplified. You just leave it like that. And you have seen cases like this before. We subtract 7 from both sides, and so x is equals to, since we cannot combine these two, we're just going to say or bring this down as -7 plus or minus the square root of 54. Again, later on when we're graphing, we're going to figure out this with the calculator, so you don't have to worry about it right now. Okay, but this is the answers for both. Okay, one more, and so we have x squared plus 5x plus something plus 4 is equals to 0. So I want you to notice something in here. When I'm trying to complete this square, we always take the square root of the first one, which is x, and we get half of the middle term. But what's wrong with this? Or not wrong, but what's different? We notice that this is an odd number. So when I take half of 5, we're going to represent it as a fraction. We're going to end up with a fraction. We bring down the 4. And so that's equals to, when we complete this square, when we complete the square in here, we're multiplying this or raising this to the second power, meaning multiplying it times itself. And so it's 5 halves times 5 halves. We multiply straight, and so 5 times 5 is 25 over 2 times 2 is 4. We end up with adding 24 fourths in here, and whatever you add to one side, you add 25 fourths plus 25 fourths. And so it's gonna be kind of a challenge in here, right? So 0 plus 25 fourths, it's gonna be 25 fourths. We subtract 4 from both sides, and so we're gonna have x plus 5 halves all raised to the second power is equals to, now in here we would have to make it into a common denominator, meaning fourths, so you would have to multiply times 4. And so that's 1 times 4 is 4, -4 times 4 is -16. Now, since I now have a common denominator, I can work with the numerators. And so 25 minus 16 is 9/4. We take the square root of both sides. This cancels. And so I'm going to have x plus 5/2 is equals to plus or minus. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 4 is 2. See, it's very, very complex, right? We subtract 5/2 from both sides. The good thing in here is that we have common denominators, so we don't have to worry about finding the common denominator. And let me pull it a little bit up, or maybe I should zoom in so that you have this to copy. And so my answers will be, let's see, there you go. It would be negative 5/2 plus 3/2. Since it's a positive and a negative, I'm going to subtract and leave the sign of the bigger one. So it's negative 5 minus 3 is 2/2. And then negative 5/2 minus 3/2, both are negative. And so it's going to be or negative 8/2. And that can still be simplified. So x is equals to negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1, or negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. And so those would be my answers. These kind of exercises, completing the square where we end up with fractions, is not going to be part of the homework. And that's why it's important to learn the x is equals to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, so that you don't have to deal with fractions like this. Okay, so again, later on you're going to be singing the song and also learning a new way that is a lot easier than working with this. Okay, so don't focus too much on number 7. I'm just showing you that there are going to be some cases like this where it's better to use the quadratic equation. Okay, so I hope these videos, sorry that this video had to be in 2, but I hope they are helpful, and now you can work on 10.10. Bye-bye.